like, I'm happy to tell you all the names of the vowels. And it certainly does sound weird when you say, oh, the T or the straight line or the three dots. But ultimately, that by doing it that way is the same thing I'm doing with the letters, which is, oh, that thing that looks like a box with the left side cut off of it and a little tail on it, right? You know, that's the same as the two dots, but they all have names. And so it's not like I'm trying to withhold this information. I'm just trying to keep you from being from clutter. Sometimes, like with the vowels, you know, there's wisdom in actually teaching the names of the vowels, because like we learned last week, the one with the two dots has two different ways of it being done. And in truth, those two dots are two different vowels, depending on one this way and one that way. And so they have a two different names. And so maybe there's value in me teaching you the name of that, but
this is plenty, just what we're doing as far as I'm concerned. So.
What's that?
Just what we're doing is plenty as far as I'm concerned.
I'd rather just kind of make sure I keep everyone up to speed than but it's not, but like, if you wanted, I would be more than happy to tell you the names of all of the vowels. I mean, although interestingly, if I did so, well, interestingly, there are very few people who know that. Like, if you ask people who kind of know Hebrew or who can certainly read Hebrew, they can identify the names of all the letters. They can say, oh, that was a bet we just learned, and that was a gimel, and that was a all the different things. But few could tell you the names of the vowels. So for, you know, so what's interesting about it is that that I would be so bold as to say, I probably couldn't find 20 people in the congregation who could tell me the names of the vowels. Even
one thing, the vowels are on the back, the inside cover on the back has all the vowels with their names.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
I just found that.
Yes, it does. I didn't see that until now, but indeed it does. And the one which is oh, it's interesting. Ironically, the one which I think is the most important to know the vowel name of, they don't even do for you. It's the two dots, one above the other, is called a shava, which it is indeed called a shava, but there are two different shavas. And so, you know, one is when it ends a syllable and one is when it's an I sound. And so it's just funny. So I would just, like, if you want to do it on your own, be my guest, study the names of the vowels. But I just would encourage you not to, just because, unless you're just very motivated, just because I don't want you to be confused by it.
You know those laminated colorful things that you used to be able to get for your kids when they were studying?
Mm-hmm.
I would love one of those for vowels and letters.
That's right.
I'm going to have to look for one of those online.
You are doing great, by the way. And just in case you're wondering, here is what we've done so far. And I've even circled the things that we're going to learn today on here also. So our chart is getting more and more filled very quickly, isn't it? I mean, you're like more than halfway done, right? At the end of today, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 letters out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16, 18, 21, 24, 26, 28, 30, 31. And what do I say? We've done 15 out of 31. So essentially halfway done the letters. And after today, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 out of 14. So you're getting really close. Really, you're getting close. So, all right. It looks like, I know Rusty is not coming. Rusty, by the way, she in our class, can you pick, you know, Rusty is? Lyda, it's hard for me to pronounce her last name. But her husband died yesterday, and so
Hmm.
anyway, it's very sad. But her husband passed away, so she's not going to be here today. So all right, so today we've got 10 of you. So if you were missing, but that's okay, then we'll just, we'll lose them. Although I'm recording this class for Rusty's sake, so that will, at least if someone else needs a copy of our recording, they can have it. But thinking about it, I don't talk the entire time, but all right, let's just start. So last time we learned a few letters and the vowel of the schwa vowel, the 2 dots. So, and also we also learned, excuse me, we didn't. Hold on, let me look, see where we are.
That was driving us crazy when we were studying.
Yep, I know.
Because I didn't know whether things had 2 syllables or whether they had 3 syllables.
That's right, I know. And I know it confused people, but here we are to go over it again. But I should just say that that we did discuss it.
Yes, we did.
Contrary to people who claim that we didn't, we did, but we're going to go over it again. And I know some people wouldn't mind having a little bit of a brush up of what we did before. So I will do that with you. So last time, again, we learned the vowel of 2 dots, which is called the schwa. But again, I don't like to call it because I don't want to confuse us. But let me just, so here again, we learned this vowel just with 2 dots, and if it comes under a letter like that. We also, last time, I think we learned, did we learn Aleph last time, or was that 2 times ago? I think we learned Aleph, which.
We learned Aleph last time.
Right, Aleph, and we learned Ayin, although
right?
I don't want to call it by its name. We learned these 2 silent letters. Let me just make this a little bit sharper for you if I can. Okay, we learned these 2 silent, and we learned.
And the nun.
We also learned the nun and the final nun. So that's what we learned
Rabbi?
last time. Now,
Rabbi,
yeah,
can I ask a question, please?
yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I apologize.
Okay.
One of the questions I had when I was studying is if you have a vowel under the aleph or the ayin,
Yep.
is there any difference in pronunciation of the sound? Or is it like if you have no? Okay, thank you. That's all I wanted to know.
It's okay. So let me just, what we learned is that the aleph and the ayin are both silent letters, and they take whatever vowel goes with them. So the only time you would see an aleph or an ayin without a vowel would be if it's at the end of a word, or maybe the end of a syllable. No, not even the end of a syllable, the end of a word sometimes. Not that often, sometimes. I'm trying to think of, there are some words I can think of, but, and that would mean that it would simply be a silent, it would be for the purposes of it was part of the root word. And so the letter needed to stay because it was an essential part of the word as a root. However, since it doesn't have a sound, and if it didn't have a vowel before it, it would stay, but it would be an irrelevant letter. In other words, it wouldn't, if you see an ayin or an aleph, excuse me, I'm so sorry. If you see this letter or this letter at the end of a word, and there is no vowel under it or after it, then it doesn't change. You can pretend that the letter isn't even there. Does that make sense? Okay, so what I want to do is go over some of the material from last time. One more, let me just discuss one more thing with you, just as a reminder. 2 dots. It has, and this is why I said to you before, of all the letters, maybe this one would be the one that I would give a name to, simply because the 2 dots, it depends on how it works. That's how you know, that's how it make a different sound. So there are 2 possibilities for this. One possibility for this vowel is it could be I, and the other, oops, I know it's not totally clear because it's not so big, but yeah. And the other possibility for this vowel is ends, it doesn't have a sound, but rather ends a syllable. Okay, so maybe I can make this sharper. Okay, so what does all this mean to you? Well, what it means is that, let me read a couple of things and see what happens. So I know I read these out loud on the recording. Let me read them here, and what we can do is, and you can therefore, let me just move this over a little bit so you can see the whole page. There we go. All right.
That was very helpful, by the way.
I'm glad.
Thank you.
My pleasure. So let me read it all to you again. And in doing so, what I can do is I can help by, we'll go over it. And if you seem to have a question with how I read them, stop me. Okay.
What page are you on?
This is page 37.
Thank you.
Sure. So I would start out by reading this as a lem. Let me get my handy dandy pointer here. A lem. Lam, by the way, it's like sometimes it's just kind of far for me. So just literally seeing what I can read fine, but I have to get closer or, or adjust my eyesight for this sometimes. So if you see me like struggling, it has to do with my vision more than it. Now, maybe I should just look at my computer screen. Okay, the next is la, la, le. In these cases, as you can see, the aleph at the end, the hey at the end, they're irrelevant letters, right? They're in terms of the way that the sound works, because la, it would also be ella if we took out that aleph. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Why wouldn't
It would be ella still if we took out the hey. Yes, I'm sorry.
Why wouldn't it be a le? Because the
You're
first word
It would be a
is a le.
It would be.
Oh, okay.
It would be. It's what. Remember when I told you this is kind of a vowel that oftentimes is. It should be a le. I should have pronounced it that way. Very
Okay.
good. You should teach this class. Lone. That is a final nun, a final n sound. But since it's at the end of the word, it takes on. Hold on. Since it's at the end of a word, it has a different shape to it. Now here we go with lam, o lam, ha o lam, ha lam, ne lam. I'm going to skip forward because I want to do our the other vowels. Okay, so let's go down here. So let's start here on I. This is at. So it would be one of those cases. This says, in this particular case, you're ending the syllable. So now again, how do you know when it ends the syllable and when it has an I sound? Well, tough to say, but here are some clues. If it comes at the beginning of a word, intuitively, if it's connected with the first letter, just intuitively, do you think it ends the syllable or do you think that it is I?
Yeah.
I, correct, because there's nothing prior to it for the syllable. So therefore, it must be an I. If it's at the end of a word, intuitively, what do you think it is?
Silent.
Silent. It ends that syllable. If it's at the end of a word, it ends the syllable. If it's at the beginning of the word, it's I. Intuitively, that makes sense. So now the question is, what happens if you find it in the middle of a word? All right, that's a little bit harder. Now, I think as a rule of, well, okay, so one thing is for sure, if you see two of them in a row, then the first one will always end the syllable and the second one will always be an I.
They have more examples
Oh,
of that on 32.
Okay. But, so, oh, fine, okay, so we can go back and look at 32. All right, I'll read 32. So again, if there's,
Thank you.
if you have, whenever if there's two in a row, the first one will always end a syllable and the second one will always be I. And the reason why is because, because you can't do two is in a row. And well, I guess you could, but it doesn't happen. And, and if you're going to it's a rule. Two in a row, first one ends a syllable, second one is an I. So now the question is, and the hard one is, what happens if it's just one in the middle of the word? The answer is, you probably can pull it off doing either one in terms of pronunciation. However, usually you can figure it out just by the way the word sounds. So let's read these and see. T, remember, first word, first letter, so it's always going to be I. T-lay. Again, as long as it's the first letter, it's always going to be I. If it's connected with the last letter, it's always going to end the syllable. T-ray, ni-shay, ni-may, mi-lay, bi-ray, ha-ray. Well, that's not even, okay. Shi-mo, shi-ro. Now, here's our first example of it in the middle of a word. One way of saying it is sham-ro. Another way of saying it is sha-miro. You hear it? One could be shamro, the other is sha-miro. In both cases, you're not wrong. Okay? In these cases, typically, you can do it either way and you'll be fine. Again, here, there are rules to it, but I don't want to overload you. So when in doubt, because it's in the middle of the word, if you can't just figure it out immediately, then either way is probably going to be fine. Sha, well, this one would be for sure, because if you have a double letter, it's always going to be, it's not a double letter, even if there's no, if there's no vowel, it's sha, re, ro. So double letters always make it re. Oops, we got someone just came in.
do you mean, Rabbi, if the double letter is the same letter?
Double letter, I'm sorry, double of the same letter. Yes,
Thank you.
sure. So now, again, we have two in a row. So that means the first is going to end the syllable. The second is going to be I. Tash, mi, ro. Bene, mene, mi. So now we have one at the beginning and one at the end. What does that teach us? I, and then ends the syllable. Mi, not. Bi, not. So this is just showing that you don't really need it, but they were just kind of putting it there for teaching. So in the middle of a word, could be I or it could end the syllable. It could be mat, not, or it could be mat to not. I can tell you it's mat, not, but it doesn't matter because either way will work. Mat, but since it's two letters in a row, it's always, it's going to be I. So ma, te, is that a te? Ma te te. Li, on, li, man. Let's keep la, mi, on, or it could be lam, on. But here it's definitely because of 2 letters in a row, la miman. This one over here. 2 in a row means the first one ends the syllable, the second one is an I. Tash mime. This could be orlot or it could be orilot. You can, either one. For your purposes, it doesn't matter. But here, since it's 2 letters in a row, orirot. And if you're thinking to yourself, oh, how am I going to keep remembering all these things? The fact is that when you read it, it kind of sounds right and wrong. Does this sound or wrote? Because you can't even or wrote, because it doesn't even sound like 2 letters. Because the 2 letters, if you end this one as an ending of the syllable and then start over again, it's like you can't even tell that there are 2 letters. So that's why it's always, if there's 2 letters, it's going to be I or wrote. And then let's read a couple more. Nalbesh, middles. Nalbisho, 2 in a row, make it end the syllable and then begin it with an I. And then this one again, end the syllable and then begins with an I. So tal be she and tal be show. All right. So a little bit of a review. So let's take a look now at our next chapter. You can do it. We're learning 3 new letters. Okay, 3 new letters. Now, in truth, I know this as just 2 letters, but you know this as 3 letters. And the reason why is because for you, since they look differently, they're different. So I'm just going to write them down for you really quickly. And so let's here. So the first one is looks like that, like a backward C. The second one looks like that, and that's below, like if you have this imaginary kind of line, it's below, it goes below the line. And the final letter is, the third letter we'll learn is that. Okay. Now, the reason why we're learning these 3 letters today is because they all make similar sounds. Okay. This letter and this letter are actually the same letter, but similar to the one that sounds like a N sound, and the final version of that N sound. You know what I'm talking about? And how it kind of goes below the line. The same happens here, in which just in the same way that just kind of falls, so too does this. And now you have it. Are you following what I'm saying? This final line kind of the bottom line falls, and like it still stays part of it, but just goes below. Does that make sense? And that's how it becomes a final. Now, what do these sounds make? These sounds make the hardest sound in all of Hebrew, ch. Ch. So this takes practice. This is not easy. Trust me. For you all, this is going to be your biggest challenge, to be able to properly say this letter. So it's ch. You got to bring it from inside, right there, inside in your throat. It's not in your mouth, it's in your throat. Right? So I want to hear your chuz. So let me take this off. Let me take this spotlight off, and I'm going to put everyone, the pressure is on everyone. I want to hear your chuz. So we'll start with Barbara. No. More. You've got something caught in your throat. It's like, I'm joking. Right? That's how you got to do it. Let's hear it, Barbara. All right, you'll work on it. David, let's hear your ch. No. No. It's not, you don't, there's no vowel, there's no vowel at the beginning. It's you got a How would you get it out of your throat? Stroke it. That's how you got to say it. Practice more. Fran, let's hear your
I'm laughing too hard to do this. Ha.
All right, you're not bad. Not bad, Fran. I like what I heard. Not bad.
Thank you. I'll practice.
Jody, who is signed in as Mimi? Let's hear it, Jody. What's your give me your ch?
Ugh.
No. Ugh. Right. If you can say ugh, if you can say ugh, take out the of it, and you've got the ch. So take ugh. Ch. Yeah, that's good. You got it. Laura, let's hear your ch. Oh, good. I was saying the other Laura, but you said it fine too. Now, Laura.
Oh, sorry.
Your ch. No, it's okay. I keep forgetting there's two of you.
Okay.
Hold on 1 second. I have an echo. Maybe not. All right, Laura, do it again.
You have to have
I love
Yiddish
it.
grandparents.
Good there, Laura. You're my prize student.
I can spell with the best.
Susan. Not bad. Not bad. C minus.
I'll take it.
That's right, Tom. Let's hear your ch.
Huh.
Ugh. No. Let's hear it again.
Huh.
All right, that's better. Maybe it was the Zoom that got in the way. Sally, let's hear your chuching. You got to take yourself off mute, Sally. There you go. Not bad. Very good, Sally. Augusta, you ready? Show off your chuching. Try again. Very good. I like it. Heidi, let's hear your chuch.
Ugh.
No, you see, you hood before you chuch. You had the ch at the end, so you're capable of chuching, but you hood it before the chuch. I need to just a ch.
Just the, okay. Huh.
Very good. Candy, you're up. Last one. I think it was. You can't tell if it's a delay in the Zoom or not, but sounded okay. So, very good to all my chuchers. Now, here's the problem. What I'm about to teach you is something very problematic, and that is this. So, there's also this letter, which, you know what? As far as you're concerned, this letter also makes a ch. Same sound. I should tell you that in Israel, this is not quite as hard of a ch as the chuching that you were doing before. This is a more gentle ch. So really it's like a ch, or no, excuse me. Let me see if I can do it. Let me just change so I can give you like ch. Not a ch, but a ch. So you have a little vibration happening there. So it's just more gentle. Now, but for what it's worth, I like to practice my chets versus my chafs. But because I am now an experienced Hebrew reader. No, there's no chi, it's Hebrew. But you should just, for your sake, just think of it as ch. Everything, those letters are all chuz. Okay? All of them are chuz. So but on the next page, they do a nice thing for us. So take a look at your book, page 40. And what they do is they show you about a couple of confusing letters. In other words, what you're learning versus what you know and how you might think they're one thing and as opposed to another thing. So let me show you. So here on our camera here again. All right, so it says, but the letters chet and hey are nearly identical in appearance, except for the space between the left leg and the top bar, or whatever. So here is a hey, and here is the, well, again, I don't want to teach you the letters, but here is the one that sounds like huh, like a pure H. And this one is the chet, which has more of a chuching sound. Are you following what I'm saying? So those can be sometimes mistaken because the difference between them is that merely that little space right there. Similarly, that chet also kind of resembles this letter, which is called a tav, but whatever, but the t sound. The difference being that this has a little foot there, whereas the chet does not. We also just learned this one, the ch, and this one, the b, the bet sound. And the only difference between these two letters, for the most part, is that really small, tiny, teeny weeny tail, which I'm gonna like, hold on, sorry, but I want to show you really close up with a little bit of that, oops, that little tail right there. You see it? That little thing, which without your reading glasses, you can barely see. That is the difference between those two letters, unfortunately. I apologize. I didn't make the letters up. All I do is read them. So let's just.
Does the bet always have the dot?
The bet always has the dot, but there's another letter that's a vet, which we'll learn later, that doesn't have a dot. Finally, this one, which is in just the same way that I showed you before here, that it's just a little bit, the n one, which is called a nun, is just a little bit more narrow. That's a little wider, okay? The difference is one is wider, one is not. So let's get to practicing. All right, so we're now on page 41, and I want you to split into groups. I'm going to give you five minutes or so, or 7 minutes. Let's see, split you into 5 groups.
Rabbi,
Yeah?
how do you pronounce, we got stuck on line E.
No, that's good. Sorry I wasn't able to come in to visit with you guys. Unfortunately, I was like, the phone rang and then I had to quickly go pee.
Okay,
So let's talk about the letter. Let's go and look at them, and you can tell me which ones were. So which one did you have a problem with?
we got stuck on line E, and that's as far as we got because it's Ra, and then it's a final.
Wait,
Ch.
so let's talk about it. So you've got the 2 dots in the final ch. Again, it has a name, but the final ch. So that means it ends the syllable. So this one would be how? Rach.
So it would be Rach.
Very
It
good.
wouldn't make a final sound except for the.
What do you mean it wouldn't make a final sound?
No, there's no final vowel sound. You're not making the S sound.
Right, because it's at the end of a word.
Exactly.
Right.
But we got caught because we didn't recognize what the two dots were doing in that place.
Got it. So it's just, it just ends the syllable. Rach, lach, bach, ach, nach, shach, ach, tach.
Okay.
Did anybody else have difficulties? Tell me about them so we can go over them.
In line D,
Yep.
the last letter in line D, is there's just a vowel sound?
Yeah, so it's just,
Eh,
eh.
okay.
There's no such word. Actually, there is a word I can think of that's like that. So there is an actual word, and that word is E. It means island, but E. So therefore, you get the point. It's like not really a. It's not a. I mean, so but typically you don't see just one letter or two letters or something like that with a with a. I mean, so these are just made up. They're just sounds.
Yeah, but you can't have a vowel. You can't have a vowel without a letter on top of it. You need a
Correct.
silent letter to trigger the sound.
Correct. Very good. It's exactly
Thank
correct.
you.
Yeah.
I have a question, Ari.
Yeah.
The way the vowel, the two dots are tucked inside the k,
The final letter, right?
right? The final k.
Yeah.
Would they also be tucked inside a resh?
No, it would go beneath. The reason why it's tucked inside is because you can't go beneath. It's already going beneath the line. So if you look, for example,
Oh, okay.
as you can see here, so it's like saying it's occupying the spot where the vowel would have gone. So therefore,
So you'd find it the same way with a final n, not final nun.
correct.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you.
Actually,
Rabbi.
I'm wondering, now that I'm thinking about it, the problem is I can't think of any examples in which the nun, you probably wouldn't see it with a nun, only because final nun, you just wouldn't see any vowel. I can't think of any time in which a nun gets a final letter, but gets a vowel. A final nun gets a vowel, but maybe it does. So yes, if it so happened with a nun, it would happen also, but you rarely have that.
Okay, thank you.
Rabbi,
Yeah,
in row F, the
yeah,
first, how do you say that? Ko?
yeah,
Okay, thank you.
sure. It's a hard one too. Oops. So
So
like,
which,
yeah,
I'm
you
sorry,
wouldn't say
which
ko,
letter
you
was
would
that?
you would say cho. You don't want to pronounce it ko, you want to pronounce it cho. Just saying.
And this is the first one
Of F.
of F. Okay, thank you.
Tell me the other one. Susan, how'd you do? You stunk it up. Like what parts gave you some troubles?
I can't tell the difference between the R's and the N's and
I see. Yeah, that's hard. So so this up here is a good, the huzz, the huzz, the fuzz, the buzz. These two are hard to distinguish between. You can see it goes below the line, essentially. This imaginary line that's kind of going all the way across there. Oops. But then right below these letters, obviously, but that these two are, have a little space, have a little bit of letter underneath them. So this is a final ch and a final n. And there's the n. So these are hard to distinguish because they look the same, but one's a little bit wider.
So Rabbi, pronounce the very first one in line A.
Ch. Again,
Huh. That's the huh.
this and this are for your purposes, are the same sound. This one and this one are the same sound for your purposes. Ch. No k. Ch. And here's your r, Susan.
Yeah, there's just too many that look alike.
Oh.
So,
Oh, and you know what's kind of interesting is that, let's see if I can find hold on one second. Oh, you know what? I have getting a book here. So here's the Torah. Again, I'm not trying to, it's not about teaching you the Torah as much as when a scribe like writes the Torah, that they pick the letters. I'm trying to like give you examples. So see, we haven't read them all, but see, unfortunately, like all these letters are, so for example, this letter, oh boy, all right, I'm not doing a good job, but okay, so this letter right here, the hey that we know, the huh, really, if you take that little dot off, we haven't learned this letter, but it looks like this letter. And so many of these letters are here in the mem, for example. Here, if you take this letter, but you remove this part right there, you have the same as the bet. In other words, the point is so that they, like, especially in writing and calligraphy, what they did was they have a system, and so that you really only have a number of different stencils, and they keep using the same stencil, to make the various different words. It's kind of anyway, too complicated. All right, so where's my book?
So going back to page 41.
Yeah.
Line B, let's say, the fourth one is a final chaf, right?
Yes.
So it's the same thing, pronounced cha.
In the first two lines, in the first two lines up here, it's not, I mean, this is just making the sounds. This is not an identifying each sound. This is not really this isn't intended to make, full syllables. Because
no, I understand.
They're just the letters. Ha, ha, cha, ba, cha, na. Silent. Cha, na, cha, ta, silent. La, cha, ra, cha, na, cha, ma, ta, cha, ha, sha, ma. They're just there to kind of just refamiliarize you with the various different letters. And then they say, all right, now let's put some vowels with them. Ha, cha, ho, bo, and so on. And then after putting the vowels with those, then let's get serious here. Let's make syllables. Rach, lach, bach, ach, nach, shach, tach, ko, ho, bo, whatever. And then, now let's get a little bit more fancy with our syllables. And then now let's put together longer words. And that's where we get down here. Let's try reading some of these longer words. So I'll tell you what, why don't I read them for you and talk you through them? And instead of you reading them for me. But I want you like on mute, and then I want you to be able to, and I want you saying them ahead of me. So, so I'm going to give you a chance. I want you to say it ahead of me, and then I'll say it so we can see how you're doing. Are you following what I'm saying? So you can practice, see how you did. Okay. So everybody on your own, quietly Sally, put yourself on mute. Here, I'm gonna mute you for,
Oh,
wait, can I mute you? No, good. All right. So first one, say it to yourself. All right. The answer is le cha. Le cha. That's the l sound, and that's the ch sound, but in its final form, with the vowel inside of it. Now, you're on it. Do this one yourselves. Let me give you a second. All right, I'm going to do it. Le cha. Same thing. There's no vowel that's associated with this hey in this particular case, so it just sits there and looks pretty. Next one. Get ready. You do it. I'm doing it. Be cha. Be cha. You do this one. All right, now me. Ba chen. Ba chen. One syllable, two syllables. Ba chen. Now your turn. You can do it. I'm watching your lips move. La chen. Just like this is ba chen, this is la chen. Now you do this one. This is one of the new letters we learned today. Two syllables. La chem. La chem. And now here, this is harder. You can do it though. Two syllables. Those two dots are going to end this first syllable. Lech na. Lech should be lech na. Let's go to this one. Here's the aleph at the end. Remember the aleph at the end in this particular case, if it doesn't have a vowel, it just means it's just kind of window dressing. It's just kind of going along for the ride. So this one would be na che. Na che. You can see the different size between the nun, the nus, and the ch sound here. And this na che. Na chon. Nachon. Two dots at the beginning of a word. What does that mean? It means it's an I. Ne chot. Ne chot. This is hard because it's you got two chs in a row. So let's try it. Na chach. Na chach. One of my favorite words in Hebrew is on top of a sukkah. The branches on top of a sukkah are called sechach. And you can imagine sechach. It means you've got, well, it's like this, but it's a se, which we haven't learned yet. Chach. So it's these two afterwards, but it's se first and then chach. Sechach. Next word, no chach. Next word, ne chel. Thankfully, we're away from the chuz. They'll be back. Two syllables, o ren. Similar looking, but this time we've got a different letter at the end. O rech. Two dots at the end of a word always means it ends a syllable. O rach. Ah rach. Arche. Arche. Or it could be arche. Aroch. New 2 syllables, Ra-cha. Ra-chash. Ra-chan. So there's 2 ways of pronouncing this for you. It could be Rach-lan, or it could be Ra-che-lan. Here's a weird one. Rach. See how it's the same thing, except these letters are the same, except this is the final form of this one. So that bottom line is pulled down and it becomes this. Racham. Shelach. Shelcha. Right? The vowel inside clearly is giving this final letter a sound. So it's shell, 1 syllable, cha, another syllable. She-la-chem. She-la-chen. Shalach. Sholachat. That's hard because it is, because 3 syllables. So sho, syllable 1, la, syllable 2, chat, syllable 3. Sholachat. Chamesh. Anybody know how to count to 5 in Hebrew? Echad, shtayim, shalosh, arba, chamesh. Chamesh. Chomesh. Chomer. Chamor. That's how you say donkey in Hebrew, or ass. You can call someone a chamor, it's always funny. Chom ra. Or you could have read this as chomira. Chomra or chomira. They sound similar anyway, so you're not like so far off if you do it that way. Chomrat or chomirat. It's hard, but you're doing great. You are doing great. It's not easy to do this stuff. This is a new language, not easy, but you are all doing great. So, yes.
Today in another class, I learned that your language ability to absorb language is good to the age of 7.
Right.
Between 7 and puberty, it diminishes for you to just absorb it. After that, it goes down precipitously.
Yep.
And I think I have jumped over the cliff with this.
Yep. It's not easy. It's hard. And that's why, again, and that's why I haven't been intentionally teaching you the names of the letters. Because because it's hard enough as it is. Why add a new thing, which is have to know the name of the letter? It's been with intention that I have not taught you the names of the letters. It's not because I'm trying to hold them back. And if you learn them on your own, please, and you probably hear me all the time accidentally saying them because I can't not. It's just, it's hard for me to refer to that letter as a chuch, the chuch letter, because I want to say its name. In the same way that if you're, spelling the word boy, you don't say, oh, it's the B letter, or it's the, the O letter and the Y letter. You want to say B-O-Y. So that's the same way it is for me in Hebrew. And I want to teach you that, but I just don't want to overload you. So I'm not so be my guest, learn the names of the letters. It's great if you do. I'm just trying to tell you that it doesn't contribute to your goal. Because your goal is reading. Your goal is not to be able to say the names of the letters.
I have a question, please.
Be my guest.
These new letters in conversational spoken Hebrew, would these letters have a longer duration than, say, the B sound or the M sound? Because of the
No, I'm not trying to I just don't understand your question. So, like, what do you mean by a longer duration?
Just does it take longer to pronounce this letter?
You mean like
So to bring it up from your throat?
Like if I'm saying ch, is it ch or is it ch? Are you talking about literally the length of the time that you
Yes.
actually have the sound emanate from your mouth?
Yes.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah, it's shorter. It's not. Someone doesn't say shelach.
Right.
Or, because that's me saying it nice and slow for you, but a person, you say shalach.
Okay, thank you.
You don't, you say Aaron, not Aaron. That's me for you.
Right,
Aaron.
okay, thank you.
So yeah. So it's, so I'll tell you what, here's the deal. Like, I feel bad if we kind of went, since I spent a fair amount of time kind of going over the stuff from last week also, we didn't get quite as far as I wanted to. Do you want me to teach you a vowel or just like let your brain, I'll tell you, I'm just gonna let your brains just suck it up. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do then. What we're gonna do is I am going to practice the stuff on page, so I did 30. So I'm gonna read the stuff on page 41. That's basically all I'm going to do for you. And I'll put it on our YouTube page. I'll do it now, so it'll be ready for you, in about 20 minutes or so, because it just takes time to upload it. But once it does, it'll be there for you. It'll be the stuff on page 41, because I don't want to go to 42 because it's got the new vowel. Oh, but what I can do is, there's 2 more lines on page 42. So when you see me, when I do page 41, I'm going to also move on to the top of page 42 with those other 2 lines. And then starting from next week, we'll go over, we'll start with the new vowel and continue moving forward. All right. You are all doing wonderfully. You're going to get in about 3 or 4 weeks. I promise you, by December, you're reading Hebrew. Not quick, not fast, but you're going to be, you'll be able to decipher everything. And that's a great thing. And you should be very proud of yourselves. And that's a great thing. So by December, you'll be reading for sure.
I want to be able to keep up and look at the Hebrew during services.
You want to look at the prayer book and you'll probably look. The fact of the matter is that you will for a long time direct your attention to the transliteration. But what you want to be able to do is be able to, like, for some of you in here, what you want to be able to do is when you're in my Torah study class and I direct you to the Hebrew, you want to be able to have it not look like gibberish. You want to be able to make sense of it when I'm directing you to the Hebrew. For others here, you want to just feel a little, you want to learn something. For others, you want to feel a little bit more authentic because that which is on the, written in Hebrew, which we're doing, you might still feel like much more secure with the transliteration, but you want to be able to say, look, I'm not reading from there, but I want to feel like I could. And you want to test yourself from time to time. Here's one word, here's another word. We're singing Shalom Rav. You know what? Today I'm going to follow along on the Hebrew and see if I can do it. oh, the Shema, I'm really just gonna, Shema is just one line. I'm just gonna follow along with the Shema from the Hebrew side. And you know what? That's a real great accomplishment. So don't think just because you do this that all of a sudden it's just gonna cut. No, because it's like, you have to really look at it and study it. For me, I can read it much faster. You should know, for me, like if I'm reading the prayer book, it's much harder for me to read the English transliteration than it is for me to read the Hebrew. I'm not bragging. It's like the English transliteration they're doing the best that they can to make the sounds of the Hebrew. So I have to decipher the English transliteration as to what it meant when it was saying, what they were trying to decipher from the Hebrew, instead of just reading the Hebrew, which is the original. So for me, I'm going from the Hebrew always, but that's because I can do it quick. I can read this stuff fast. You can't. So you shouldn't necessarily, that's a goal down the line. If you keep up with this, if you practice on your own, I'm going to give you the tools to be able to practice on your own. And once you get there, you keep up with it, then at some point, but you're doing great. Really, you should be I just want one more time, I'll show you. Look, we've done this, all those, this. I prematurely circled this one and this one. All right, so we haven't gotten there, but other than those two circles, everything else we've done. I mean, next week, we're going to do these two circles. And then we're also going to do, let's see. Next week, then we're going to add this one and this one. And we're just going to, and then the following week, I have no idea. Who knows what we're going to probably add this and this, but you'll see. We're going to get through these really quickly. We're almost done with all the vowels. We're almost done. You're going to be great. I know it. I have confidence in you. I'm proud of you. I'm going to let you go to your other things, let this sink in. And then I'm going to put together the practice pages for you to practice with on your own this week. All right. See you later, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night.